Iran, a vast land stretching from the Zagros Mountains to the desolate Kavir, a land carrying thousands of years of history, the birthplace of great dynasties that shaped Eastern civilization, a land that carried the name Persia across the world as a symbol of elegance, art, poetry, and empire. But today, behind the wall of great ambition and heated geopolitics, a much quieter reality is growing. A water crisis that dries the soil and power outages that push millions into darkness. Iran is a country that wants to present itself as a major power. Yet inside, society lives in a routine constantly interrupted by blackouts, empty water tanks, and a future that becomes harder to predict. To understand this contradiction, we must look at how Iran built itself. Since the 1979 revolution, a new republic was born with the belief that it could stand on its own. Economic sanctions, international pressure, and diplomatic isolation did not stop that ambition. Iran developed its nuclear industry, built networks of allies across the Middle East, and presented itself as a regional power capable of challenging larger nations. On the global stage, Iran appears strong, resilient, fearless. But far from the news cameras in small towns and quiet villages, reality is harsher. Wells are drying up, fields are cracking, and electricity cuts out for hours every day. The road to this crisis has deep roots, deeper than most people realize. Iran stands at a crossroads of harsh nature, snow-capped mountains that melt too quickly, deserts swallowing cities, and wide plains reflecting heat like sheets of metal from north to south, from the Caspian Sea to the Persian Gulf. The country survives between two worlds constantly colliding, between beauty and scarcity, between hope and reality. Iran is a land of extreme climate. Most of its territory is dry, fragile, and demands enormous compromises from humans. Rainfall is low and unpredictable, evaporation is high, and temperatures rise every year due to global climate change. But although nature has long given warnings, the true problems never came from the sky alone. Many of them were born from human decisions. For decades, the government built massive dams. These grand projects were not only meant to distribute water, but also to reinforce national pride. Hundreds of dams were built on major rivers such as the Karun, the Karkay, and the Zayan-Dayrud, all constructed under the belief that water could be conquered, redirected, forced to sustain agriculture and industry on an unprecedented scale. But that ambition ignored the most basic limit. Iran does not have enough water to support that dream. Agriculture consumes around 90% of the nation's water, much of it used for crops that require huge amounts of water even though the land does not support them. Thousands of illegal wells have been drilled, draining aquifers that take centuries to refill. Groundwater levels drop drastically, land that was once fertile grows fragile, and signs of danger slowly appear like small cracks in a window pane. Lake Urima, the largest salt lake in the Middle East, has shrunk into a shadow of itself. Its once silver-blue surface has turned into a blinding white plain. Winds lift salt crystals like tiny flying needles. In Isfahan, the great Siosé pole and Kaju bridges stand over a river that no longer exists. Their stone pillars stand like silent witnesses to the loss of something far greater than water, the loss of balance. Every year, the desert creeps closer to civilization. Villages are abandoned, fields are left untilled. Children grow up without ever seeing the river that their parents once played in. Thousands of people move to the outskirts of major cities like Tehran, Shiraz, or Mashhad, creating settlements that grow too quickly to be properly planned. In these places, statistics fail to capture the lives of people struggling to survive with almost nothing. Meanwhile, the electricity crisis grows into another national problem. Ironically, Iran holds the world's second-largest natural gas reserves, yet a country with such energy wealth often suffers from blackouts. Old power plants, outdated infrastructure, surging household consumption, and the water crisis that disables hydropower plants. When summer arrives and temperatures rise above 45 degrees Celsius, electricity demand spikes. Cities go dark, lights in homes shut off. Hospitals report power disruptions, factories halt temporarily, shops close early. There is a bitter irony in all of this. A country capable of developing satellites, missiles, and advanced military technology cannot keep the lights on in its own homes. The water and electricity crises damage more than daily comfort. They strike at the social and economic structures of the nation. When water disappears, jobs disappear. When electricity goes out, services collapse. When heat rises, public patience thins. In the past decade, waves of protests have erupted across various provinces. Many were triggered by one simple thing: water. In Khuzestan, a province rich in oil yet lacking clean water, residents filled the streets holding empty bottles as symbols. The Karun River, once considered Iran's most precious river, has changed color. Pollution altered its water, drought shrank its flow. Every night when the lights go out and the city falls into darkness, protests rise from narrow alleys. The ecological crisis slowly turns into a national security crisis. In many places, empty villages have turned into ghost towns. Prolonged drought has sparked minor conflicts between provinces vying for water shares. From the east, the desert advances like a vast blanket covering the land. The government built windbreaks to hold back the sandstorms, but those measures only delay the inevitable. Sandstorms arrive more often, larger and thicker. Cities are choked by fine dust that hangs in the air for days. Yet this is not only about a changing nature. It is also about how a country is governed. For years, Iran relied on oil exports as the backbone of its economy. But international sanctions made state revenues unstable. When money dwindled, infrastructure repair projects were postponed. At the same time, large budgets continued to be allocated to the military, the nuclear program, and foreign political operations. Meanwhile, water, electricity, and agricultural companies used aging technology, entrenched management, and slow-moving bureaucracies. What looks magnificent from the outside often hides cracks within. A nation as large as Iran moves forward on administrative foundations that have not kept pace with the times. Metropolitan areas with more than 13 million people are growing faster than the resources that support them. To meet water demand, drilled wells reach ever deeper, hundreds of meters down. As a result, Tehran's ground has begun to sink. Land subsidence appears almost every year, damaging roads, bridges, tunnels, and buildings. Air pollution has become an old companion that refuses to leave. The city is frequently shrouded in toxic haze, especially in winter, when the air is stagnant. Schools close, streets grow quiet, and the sky turns dark gray. Yet life goes on. In Shiraz, people still visit Hafez's tomb, seeking solace in the poet's words that have endured for centuries. In Yazd, ancient wind towers regain relevance, offering passive cooling when electricity is unreliable. In Mashhad, families sit in the city parks, drink tea, and hope the power does not fail. The people of Iran have survived war, revolution, sanctions, economic crises, and international pressure. They have endured many things that have toppled other nations, but resilience, no matter how strong, has its limits. Today, Iran stands at a critical point between a glorious past and a fragile future. The question is no longer simply about technology or politics, but about survival. How can a country with a long history, magnificent culture, and great ambitions confront the most serious ecological crisis in its history? The water and electricity crises are not merely technical problems. They're mirrors of the future. Mirrors that reflect choices to continue grand ambitions on the world stage or to safeguard the basic lives of people at home. Mirrors that ask whether past pride is strong enough to withstand present pressures. When the lights go out and the water stops flowing, what remains is silence. A silence that reminds us that civilizations do not always collapse from war, invasion, or violence. Sometimes they crumble for something simpler, when basic human needs cease to be met. Iran was once the center of the world. Today, it struggles not to lose its future. And like many great nations, the decisions it must make are not easy. But time will not wait. And amid rising heat, vanishing rivers, and paling sky, the largest question remains unchanged. Is this country ready to change before it is too late?